Hey there YouTube, I hope you're doing well. I've been off YouTube for a couple months because I have been touring with my group Kallidad all across Europe, and I just honestly was so busy I didn't have an hour or a half hour to lock myself up in private, in quiet, two things that are very hard to come by on tour, privacy and quiet. But I'm back. I've practiced heaps, I've learned heaps in the last few months, so I hope that I can share more with you than ever. Without further ado, today we're going to play around with a bit of B major, and we're going to do this kind of stuff. I hope you'll agree it's a pretty cool and pretty fun sound. So without further ado, that was a B major chord I played. You can play it at the 7th fret. It's just a major chord like that. But I usually play it there. So from the 5th string, 2, 4, 4, 4. I am very lucky in that my pinky finger's main joint or top joint appears to be pretty much exactly the width of 3 of my strings. So I can put my pinky finger down and it covers 3 and then it can bend up. Maybe not everyone's fingers are exactly that same shape, but you can also do it like that with... I use my pinky a lot. Both are valid. Anyway, a B major chord. A B5 power chord with just the 2nd and the 4th will do the job. But it's nice to have the whole chord there. B major chord. All right. The scale we're going to use is one that we use so often on this channel, the E Phrygian dominant. We use it so often because it sounds so cool. So let's quickly go through the scale and then we start making some shapes with the scale. On the B string, everything's on the 2nd string, the B string. 0, 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. As with all my lessons, I will tab this lesson and put it on my Patreon page. Link in description. So that was 12, 10, 8, 7, 5, 4, 1, 0. Now we have played with this kind of idea on the channel many times in different contexts and different situations. Here's a new one for you. So we're going to pick any note of the scale. I might start with the 4th fret. What we're going to do is play the next highest note of the scale. After 4 comes 5, because remember it was 0, 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. And I should say as well, if that scale is new to you, then it's entirely possible I'm moving too fast for you right now because you've only just learnt this. You go, hold on, this is a new thing for me. I need to get this under my fingers and into my ears. If that's the case and I'm moving too fast, pause the video. Pause, take a break, play the scale. Of course, I'd like it if you come back, but honestly, more realistically, if you've just learnt that scale from this video and you pause it and go off and learn and practice that, I will feel perfectly fulfilled that you have learned something today and you've increased your guitar knowledge a little bit, and I've done my job here. So I hope you come back to the rest of the video. If you don't, you've still learned something. But let's assume you're comfortable with the scale now, or you've paused and come back. 4th fret. The next scale degree was the 5th fret. And then we're going to play the 4th again. So we're going to play a note, the note higher, the note again, and then the open B string. 4, 5, 4, 0. We're going to do this all around the scale. So let's take the 7th fret note. The next one we played was 8 because we did 7, 8. So 7, 8, back to 7, and 0. So we're playing a note, going up the scale, back to the note, open string. 10th fret. What's the next scale degree? 12th fret. Now remember, let's say we start at the 10th fret. Now, the next note on the guitar would be the 11th fret note. However, in this case, in this context, with this Phrygian dominant scale that we're using, that note's not in the scale. So when I say the next note higher, I mean the next note of the scale. 0, 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. That's our color palette for today. That's our options for today, our stepping stones. Now, as you progress, you'll break out of those stepping stones rather comfortably, and I'll help you do that if you're around for that. But for now, we're going to stick with these stepping stones, 0, 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. So if I'm at 10, my next stepping stone is 12. Back to 10, open. I strongly encourage you to do this all around the scale, just like we've just done. We've done 4, 7, 10, and it continues. I could do 8. So if you'll excuse me for a moment, I'm just going to go for a little meander now and just show you what this kind of idea looks like at a nice slow tempo. And so on and so forth. So we're developing a little melodic pattern here. And if you start to get comfortable with that, you can definitely do it a bit faster. That was wrong. Don't forget our chord. So there really is an awful lot of fun to be had there, and it's a really simple concept. Of course, I'd like to think it goes without saying that just because I've shown you this today in B, on the B string, it should go without saying that you can do it elsewhere on your instrument. You could, for example, let's say do a G minor, go onto your G string. So this concept and this shape applies to all your open strings. I think the open strings are a pretty important part of it because we're always going back to that open string. And it's really nice because we can jump around our instrument. And that open string being at the end of every single lick that we play gives us that split second. So little bit of time, little bit of time. Little bit of time for the left hand, little bit of time for the left hand to get where it wants to be, which might be the other side of your instrument. So I might go. So the first 3 notes are fretted, that last note that's an open string. While my right hand is playing that open string, my left string is frantically, but in a controlled way because we practice our technique. My left string is getting where it needs to be in the break. That in itself is actually quite a useful technique and quite a useful thing to think about, using open strings at the end of your licks or the end of your melodies or the end of your sections. Just one open string can be all the difference between a kind of smudgy fudgy, like if you're playing a note, you've got to quickly get to the next note, or just using an open string will make you sound a lot more precise. So that's a really useful tip there. Like I said, I'll tab this out on Patreon, and on Patreon what I'll do also is actually show you some more shapes and things like that, so we'll really get into that. But for now, I just want to say thank you. Cheers for following the channel. Excuse me for disappearing for a couple months. I was honestly thinking about this a lot. It just took all my brain power and energy and focus to actually basically survive Kallidad's 2.5-month Europe tour, which we did survive, and we did have a brilliant time, and it went really well. I just couldn't get the space, time, privacy, and quiet I needed to do this for you in that time. So I'm back now. I've got a month off. I will be teaching regularly during that month, and I thank you very, very much.